Chloe Marks has an extensive musical pedigree as a singer, songwriter, and multi-instrumentalist who plays in other people's bands, as well as with her own The Mayhem. This year, they've released four standout singles, the latest of which is Cheaper Than Therapy. Hello, Chloe.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Getting there.
I'm stumbling over my words, but also distracted by your hat. A fantastic hat. For those who are listening rather than watching, you're missing out because Chloe has a very impressive cap on.
Yeah, it's very cool. It's got all these like hidden features on the sides of it, and some are a little bit inappropriate, so I'll keep those to the
Okay.
side.
Does it have ventilation? Is it like a summer
Yeah,
travel
no,
cap?
it's great. I bought it at Gimpy because I had another cap, but it was just so hot that I needed a fresh one. So this is my Gimpy cap.
How was your Gimpy?
It was fantastic actually. It was the first time I've been to the Gympie Muster, and I performed in the Mother Tone competition, and
Mhm.
it was just incredible to be a part of it and to see Gympie and how it all runs. It's fantastic.
Yeah, everyone who goes seems to love it. I'm just not a person who really wants to camp for
Yeah,
that length of
that's
time.
fair enough. It was very, very hot during the day and then freezing at night. Like you just could not get warm. So I can understand not wanting to camp.
You're right. But look, people enjoy it, so I don't know what I'm talking about. Now, to your music, you have taken us on a journey with these singles, these four singles released this year, the debut singles for Chloe Marks and the Mayhem. Now, you write a lot. The last time we spoke, we talked about you writing, you handwrite, you keep songwriting notebooks, you've written hundreds of songs. I'm wondering if these four songs emerged as a set from your books or if you actually wrote them as a set.
They definitely, I would say, emerged as the journey sort of progressed. It was whenever I write, I'm not actually. It's very rare that I sit down and intentionally write. Like I will make time for it, but whatever kind of happens, happens. But when I finished our newest single, it was just kind of like, oh, okay, this is done. This is the end of this whole journey, and leading to it. And the more that I sort of sat there and looked at the songs that we've done this year, it was very much like, okay, that's where I was and this is where I am now. So it was definitely it wasn't intentional at first, but then when we sort of looked at it, we were like, yeah, this really is the personal story of my whole journey.
Yeah. So so when you plan to release them, I'm wondering actually, because I think Michael Moko produced all of them, as far as I can tell. I'm wondering if you actually recorded them together and then planned a release sequence, or if you actually were going in and out of the studio.
Yeah, so we did record Porch Light and Cheaper Than Therapy. So at the same time, we did two studio sessions, but we actually did the bed of both of those songs, which is, the foundation, the drums, bass, guitar on the first day, and then the second day we finished both of the songs off. So it was a little bit chaotic. Like the second day we were in the studio for about, I think it was something like 13 hours. And by the end of it, I was like, I don't even remember what we did this morning. Like there was just so much that happened. But yeah, it definitely we had a big plan to release Porch Light and then Cheaper Than Therapy, and that was gonna close out our year. So we knuckled down and we got it done.
There was a behind the scenes studio video that you put out on your social media for Cheaper Than Therapy, which I think shows just the robust conversations, shall we say, and
Yeah,
feedback from some band members.
yeah, yeah. It's definitely it was funny when we were looking through that footage. There was just so much conversation, and it was like hours and hours and hours long of I didn't even realize at the time, but there's so much that goes into building a song like that. And it was actually quite hard to narrow it down into, the 30 seconds that we used, or the minute that we used for social media. But yeah, there was a lot of back and forth, and it happens every time we go in the studio. We kind of come in with one song, and then we leave with a completely different song that's just built, into something new. So it was great.
Had you worked with Michael before you recorded these four songs?
No, this was the first time. So even when we did Carolina, the first time I met Michael was actually in the studio. We met when we got there, and I had just heard great things, and a lot of people who had heard us play said, like you have to talk to Moko. And then yeah, we did Carolina, and straight away we were like, yep, that's it. We're never going anywhere else because Moko loves it. We love it. He just works so well with us, and he really understands how we work.
And he is conveniently located in Brisbane, which is where you are.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Definitely helps.
Now, you mentioned Carolina, which was the first single earlier this year, and it sounds rollicking, but it starts with the line, Carolina, you're breaking my heart. And so we kind of get this impression of what's about to happen, and then we're turned around. So I'm wondering if this upbeat tune or this upbeat way of delivering the lyrics was actually a way of working through the heartache.
Yeah, definitely. It's something that we've actually laughed about after the fact that a lot of our songs do have that. They've got this really heartbreaking, behind the scenes, you know, idea behind the song, and then the actual song itself is, whenever we play it live, people are, jumping around and having a good time, and it's like when you actually read the lyrics, it's quite heartbreaking. I think a lot of that not only had to do with the way that I write, but also our band is just we're all just very chaotic and quite outwardly expressive people. Even when one of us in the band is going through something, we all kind of hype each other up and get each other through it, and that's just how we ended up playing the song. And yeah, it's a bit of a weird one.
I find it interesting that you say you're chaotic because, from what I can tell, you have so many things on the go at once that I was under the impression that you were a tightly scheduled individual.
Yeah, well, definitely there's a lot of organization that goes into it, but there is a lot of yeah, it's just I think it's organized chaos is probably how to explain it. But it's very full on. It's a lot of be here at this time, and everyone just rocks up and no one has any idea what they're doing, and then we just get it done.
Right. So yeah, Skip September, which was the second single, was in the same vein of Carolina in that it was upbeat seeming, and then it's actually about wanting to just skip the whole month of September because of things that had happened in the past in that month. And there's a line in the chorus about wanting to jump to December, which is where we are now. So I'm hoping that September this year for you wasn't too rough.
Yeah, it was actually it Skip September. We actually wanted to release it in September. That was our plan originally. And we sort of shuffled some things around and we just thought, we'll do it in July. But it was actually quite a healing part of the process to get the song out and get it done. And now it's something we sort of look back on. And yeah, now that we're in December, it's like, oh, okay, that's another chapter closed.
So I wonder if actually that song will, for you, will mean that next year September doesn't really register.
Yep, yeah. Well, we've started calling September the Mayhem month. So we've kind of claimed that that's our month, and hopefully every September we'll just keep getting better.
Yeah. So after Skip September, you released Porch Light in October. It sort of snuck out a little bit. I wasn't quite aware of it at the time, and it's a real heartbreaker. There's a lot of yearning on there. So I'm wondering, considering the first two singles that came out when you recorded that, were you intentionally wanting it to take on that cast, or is that how it emerged in the studio?
Porch Light definitely was. We wanted it to be really, really raw and emotional and quite almost desperate. We wanted it to sound really, really heartbreaking and be very different to what we'd done before. And we wanted to release something quite sneaky, like, it kind of went under the radar, but we wanted to do that and just do something really different.
Mhm.
Um, and we had a few songs, and all of them were quite slow and heartbreaking. And this one just really stood out as like I said, it was part of the story that happened, during Carolina and Skip September. It was kind of part of it, and it just felt very fitting for it to come after it. So, but yeah, the song, it definitely built in the studio a little bit, but it was, yeah, meant to be a little bit more withdrawn and pulled back than the others.
Because I guess it also focuses more on you as a singer, because the sound is stripped back more. Is that given that you're a drummer, that's one of the instruments you play, you're very much used to being in a band environment. I'm wondering if for you as a singer that was not necessarily scary, but a little more exposed than you're used to.
Yeah, definitely. It's funny you say that because we actually sort of tried to emulate that. There were definitely parts where we pulled it back and we threw a couple ideas around, like, oh, should we put this instrument in? Should we do this? And we actually ended up taking a lot of stuff out because we wanted it to be, yeah, very focused on my vocals and what was happening. But it's a lot more vulnerable in that way. I very rarely sing without an instrument in front of me. Usually I'm either on the drums or I'm on guitar. So even in the studio, when you're doing those takes, to stand there in this like dead silent booth, and it's pretty daunting. So we wanted to really pull that out in Porch Light.
Well, it's very effective, and then we it moves us into cheaper than therapy. So it's basically setting up that perhaps there's some unresolved business in Porch Light that has to be dealt with, and then we get to cheaper than therapy, which is the new single. And you said that this song it feels like it's closing a chapter, and it does sound like a moving on song in so many
Yeah.
ways. So I'm also interested when you wrote it and then when you recorded it, whether you could actually feel that. You're like, yeah, okay, letting this go now.
Yeah, definitely. There was when I wrote it, I had this idea to do a song that was almost like confessing. And I wanted a song that was, like here's all my flaws, here's who I am, this is what I've been through, and this is me on the other side. And I just wanted something that was just like that weight lifted off after all of everything that, has happened. Um, and I wrote the song, and it just felt so, it almost felt silly. And I sat on it for a long time. And then I said to the band, I have this new song. And I just remember the exact moment we were actually filming for a music video for Skip September. And we were standing on set, and I said, I have this new song. And I played it for them while we were on the set. And they all just looked at me really blankly. And I was like, oh no, it's terrible. And they were like, that's it. That's the one. That's the end of year song. Um, and then, yeah, we got in the studio, and it was the easiest song to record, in a sense of just everything came together. Everything just worked perfectly. Every idea we had worked. It was just like all the pieces fit. And we listened to it afterwards, and I have a moment every time we record a song where I sit in the producer's chair. I sit there in front of the whole desk, in front of all the speakers, and I just take it all in and make sure that I'm happy with it and the band is happy with it. And every single time without fail, I end up crying a little bit, just because it's like it's everything's done. It's, all this hard work. And that definitely, at the end of that song, it was like, all right, our year is done. All of the hard work has paid off. And we all had a big cry after it. And it was quite a strange, but yeah, wonderful song.
It's a great song. Like I'd say it makes me smile, but also, okay, what is cheaper than therapy in the lyrics is getting stoned and talking to God. And also there's this kind of metatextual moment where it's like, I've got to talk to God about the fact that I'm getting stoned and talking to God.
Yeah, well, it was so funny. Even when I was writing that, I didn't even have to really think. I just started singing, and the words kind of happened, and I was like, that'll work. Like that's the lyrics. It definitely was. It was just a very organic, natural song to write. There was not much thought. I didn't, with Carolina, there were parts of that came together so easy, and then there were other parts where I sat there intently for weeks just trying to write things and put stuff together, to finish it off. Whereas, yeah, cheaper than therapy was just like, it was like having a conversation with a therapist. It was like sitting there and being like, this is all my stuff, and that's how it is.
So I'm guessing that this is your practice, talking to God is a thing that's helped.
Yeah, definitely. I think everyone, I feel like the subject itself is a little bit, everyone, can sit differently for every person. For me, my faith and my walk with everything has been a big part of who I am, and how I was raised, how I grew up, everything to do with my music. And it's something that we've kind of put into a few of our songs quite subtly. And we didn't want to focus too much on it, but we wanted enough that, that to have that creative right to just write about whatever we wanted. And so, yeah, that was another really big step, to sort of get out of that comfort zone, to, start talking about that conversation that not many people really want to talk about.
Yeah, in this culture, of course, as we know, like religion's not cool to talk about, and there are a lot of people who have faith. They have a religious practice. They go to church, or they practice it in other ways, but it's not really spoken about. And if it is, it's like that Australian thing of look.
Yeah,
Whereas in many other countries, in Catholic countries, for example, the church is in the center of town. People go on Sunday, and it's
yeah.
not really questioned at all.
Yeah, it's definitely something, I think, especially in our band, every single person in the band, as far as I know, we all have different beliefs and different practices, and there's not a single person in our band that is judgmental of any other member. We're all just very accepting. We're very, even like I said, when I took the band took the song to the band, I was actually a bit worried because there are other people in the band who don't have the same beliefs as me. And everyone was just really stoked with it because it was more so about the idea of this is where I get my peace from, and this is what I do, and this is my journey, and everyone's journey looks different, and they were just really happy with that, and it has really opened up a strange but wonderful conversation in our band and other ways.
And I also think for someone who's engaged in creative work, as you are, and intensely creative work, there is an aspect of creativity that is about offering it up to something greater than yourself. And I think that's a way to solve problems in the work as well. It's like, well, okay, if I take my ego out of this, if it's not about me trying to show that I'm really clever and I'm really cool, and I actually just offer it up to God or whatever people want to call the entity, the one, then I think it really affects things positively.
Yeah, definitely. I think there's such a level of, like you said, just being creative and making it for something and someone bigger than yourself. And whether that's for me, whether it's just other people, whether it's, my family, my friends, or however it looks, I think it all works towards something bigger. And that looks different for every person. And this was just our way of I guess portraying that.
I think part of what's so great about the song too is that, of course, that's not what one would think going into it. You're going to say it's cheaper than therapy. In fact, I was half expecting you to say that drumming is cheaper than therapy
Oh,
because
right.
I tend to, well, not in the song itself, but it was more that, I'm a great believer that humans need to whack things. It's actually good to externalize stress. And
Yeah.
because you're a drummer, I was thinking, well, Chloe's probably got more experience with things that are cheaper than therapy than other people.
Yeah, it definitely, I when we released the name of the song, because we actually had a different name for it, and we decided to go with cheaper than therapy so that people actually came into it with an open mind, because we knew that it was going to be quite confronting to listen to. I actually said to the band, people are either going to really hate this or they're going to really love it. I don't think there's going to be an in between, and that's okay. And yeah, we just wanted something that really expressed where we were all at, and yeah, just really opened up that very unique and vulnerable place.
I think also the way you sing it is very matter of fact. It's just like this is what's happening. It doesn't sound like a confession to the listener.
Yeah.
You make it sound every day.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, no, definitely. It was one of the only times, like I said, it's quite daunting to get into the studio, and you're in that environment where it's quite a dark room, it's a small room, it's very, very quiet. And usually when I get in and do vocal takes, I say it takes me 6 takes, and on the sixth one, I get all my nerves out, and that's it, and we're done. And usually we end up going with the first or second take anyway, and it's just in my head. Cheaper than therapy, I got in and I did one take, and I sort of looked around the room and everyone was like, that might have been the take. It was just very like, it was very just kind of came out of me, and it was that place of self-confidence and knowing who I am. And yeah, like you said, it was quite powerful and quite matter of fact. So it was actually a lot of fun to record.
I'm interested in you saying that normally it takes you like 6 takes is when you start to feel things go away, but it's the first or second take you'll use because
Yeah.
that also speaks. So that's such a fascinating aspect of what you do, which is the perception of the artist being different to what other people are hearing.
Yeah.
And even though you would now know that, right? You know that it's going to be the first or second take used. You're still feeling something tense until you get to 5 or 6 takes.
Yeah, definitely. I try, and usually how we do vocal takes is the whole band will go away and I'll sit in the room with Moko. Because a lot of the time, if I'm just distracted by them or I'm not focusing, I can't do it. And a lot of the time they are just, being crazy in the background. But once we're done and I've kind of got to a place where I say, like, okay, that vocal take sounds okay, we get the band to come in and they will say yes or no, because I am my own worst critic, and I will never be happy. Every time I listen to a take, I'm like, no, that's not good enough. And they're like, it is. Just so yeah, you definitely have to take some outsider advice, which is quite terrifying, but it definitely pays off.
Now, speaking of recording with Moko, I'm guessing you might be about to do some more because I was reading that at Urban Country Music Festival a few months ago now, you performed about new original tracks. So that suggests that you're working towards some other things.
We are definitely working towards some other things. We have some very big plans for next year. Yeah, we did play, I think it was eight, I think it was seven or eight new songs that we played that we'd literally no one in the world had heard. And I have been writing as I do ever since. So we've got a few more and we're going to try and see what we can do with all of those early next year.
So you've had a busy festival year. You had Gympie, you had Urban Country Music Festival, and you play, I think, three sets at Groundwater. How was that?
That was incredible. Groundwater was it was just fantastic. It was a bit like Tamworth where you go there and you feel like you're in this completely different world where you're just surrounded everywhere you go there's a stage and there's music and it was just fantastic and it was really nice to get a little bit outside of Brisbane because obviously we're so lucky that we do so many shows here but yeah, to get out and to go to Gold Coast and to meet all new people and perform at, all new venues was just, yeah, such a great experience.
I can understand why you're spending a lot of time playing in Brisbane because it seems that there are venues now that are really supporting live country music and putting it on pretty much 7 nights a week.
Yeah, definitely. We are so lucky. We've got some fantastic venues, and they're just popping up, and they are so supportive of local artists and Australian country artists. I have friends even from Grafton and Coffs and all over the place, and they're always talking about how they just want to travel to Brisbane and come to our venues. So we are incredibly lucky, and all the venues are so great and so supportive.
Well, I was even thinking if I had a week to spend in Brisbane, it's like, well, I know what I'd be doing every night. There's
Yeah,
two venues quite close to each other in the valley, Chattahoochee's
yeah.
and Honky Tonks, that seem to have something on all the time.
Yeah, they're both fantastic, and it's very cool because they feel like completely different country venues, but they still like there's I wouldn't say there's either one that's it's better or worse. They're just like opposite ends of the spectrum, so you get something different every time you go to either one. They're both fantastic.
So we are, at the time we're speaking at the start of December, Christmas is approaching, but given your work rate, I'm guessing you're the sort of person who possibly does not power down much over Christmas.
No, I if anything, I kind of amp it up a little bit, and the shows we do a lot more Christmas shows and New Year's and all sorts of stuff. So yeah, I'm lucky enough. We've got a couple private functions as well. We're playing for a couple companies, and we're sort of starting to tour around and do some different things, and then basically the week after Christmas we kick into Tamworth preparation, and then it's all go to the end of January.
Yes, you have four shows at Tamworth for now. Tamworth things tend to shift, two at the Tudor Hotel and two at Joe Maguire's, so both really well-known venues. Have you played in them before? Have you been to them before as a punter? Do you know what you're in for?
I've been to them. I haven't been to Joe Maguire's yet, but I went to the Tudor last year and we actually spent a lot of our time there. I was with a big group of musicians for the whole week and we were basically just going to everyone's gigs, like following each other around. And a lot of the time at the end of the night, there would be, 30 or 40 of us that would end up at the Tudor. So because it's definitely one of the venues that stays open the latest and it's pretty full on. But yeah, I assume it's going to be just as crazy, and we're pretty excited for that. So, and yeah, hopefully it will go well.
And so, as you said, some big plans for next year. How far ahead do you book your gigs?
Well, at the moment, I'm booked all the way through till April, and that will probably change in the next couple of weeks, and we'll probably go all the way till July. It goes pretty far forwards. Yeah, it's a lot of planning, a lot of organizing, a lot of moving parts, but yeah, it's worth it.
So, in between all of that, obviously, recording sounds like you might be planning that. But in terms of your songwriting, do you actually look at the schedule and think, are there pockets in here where I could maybe just fiddle around a bit and see what happens?
Yeah, so I definitely try. I go sort of opposite to my gig schedule. So sometimes, like last week I did 5 gigs. The week before that I did 3. So it really depends on how many nights I'm working, and then I'll basically try and do it on an off day or the morning of, because your brain kind of gets quite cluttered. And I find I just write best if I'm sort of out of that zone. But sometimes, I mean, the Carolina, I wrote most of that in the green room right before a show. I was literally sitting there warming up, and it just came. And so it really just depends on how I'm feeling, where I'm at. It's one of those things that if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, try again tomorrow.
And of course, I just realized with your gig schedule, whether it's Tamworth or elsewhere, you play for other artists. So that's no doubt factored in.
Yes, yeah. I think we counted. Someone asked me this last week. I think we counted that I'm in six or seven different bands. So it's pretty full on. But it's a lot of fun. It keeps me very busy. At the moment, I'm really honing in on my drum skills and trying to improve that a lot. But that will eventually change, and I'll probably pick up the guitar again and start trying to perfect that. And yeah, it's constant.
6 or 7, that's more than is in your bio, Chloe. So that's
Yeah, I've actually just started drumming for his name is LR Marsh, and he's incredible. He's a blues rock player, and he was one of my best friends, and he performed at Gympie. And yeah, we've just thrown together a trio and some other things. So yeah, starting to do even more.
well, looking forward to whatever songs you're releasing next year, but I do really love the 4 you've released this year. So everyone who has not heard them can get along and hear them now. And Chloe, great to talk to you. Thank you for your
Yes, thank you
time.
very much. Thank you.